Hi, my name is Jennifer Berdugo. I'm an Associate State Director for AARP California. I'm here today to host a conversation with the candidates. AARP is a national nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. We've been fighting for more than 60 years on the issues that matter most to older adults and their families, and to ensure that their voices are heard. Our members have told us over and over again that one of their top priorities is being able to choose where they live and remain in their homes and communities as they age, what we call aging in place. 73% of Americans aged 45 and over would like to age in place, and this percentage increases to 90% when considering those above the age of 65. However, many often can't do so because their community was not built or designed to support aging in place. A livable, age-friendly community must offer a sense of safety and security. It should also have diverse housing and transportation options that are affordable, accessible, and have features and services for people of all ages. Fortunately, in 2019, the City of Sacramento enrolled in AARP's Age Friendly Network. As a member of the network, the city made a commitment to actively improve the quality of life for the very young, the very old, and everyone in between. However, we know this is no easy task and requires the support of all city leaders. We're here today because we would like to see the next City Council member of District 8 be a champion for creating an age-friendly Sacramento. So for this conversation, we'll be discussing livability issues within our city, and we'll ask our candidates how they'll serve the needs of the 50 plus on City Council. I'm here with Mai Vang, City Council candidate for District 8, and we want to hear from her about her vision for the future of Sacramento. Welcome, Ms. Vang, and thank you for being here with us today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be in space with all of you today, and just really humbled to have the opportunity to speak with your membership and your organization about why I'm running, why we are all running, because there's so much at stake this November.
Great, thank you. Well, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
As you may know, AARP represents 3.3 million members in California, and 70,000 of them live in the city of Sacramento. In 2 minutes or less, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for Sacramento City Council?
Yeah. So thank you so much for your question, Jennifer. Again, my name is Mai Vang, and I am a candidate running for Sacramento City Council. I was born and raised in South Sacramento. I am a proud daughter of Hmong refugees and also the oldest of 16 children in my family. So you can imagine at a really young age, I learned the importance of stepping up to take care of your family and your community. But growing up in Sacramento, I also saw firsthand how access to wealth and access to opportunities really determine a person's quality of life. And I saw each day my grandma, my grandparents, my uncles, my aunties, my neighbors struggling to get by, to fight for a better life. And this is what really fired my passion in terms of community engagement. You know, I'm running for Sacramento City Council to make sure that we don't leave anyone behind, that we really create a better Sacramento that's livable for everyone, that's young, old, different gender, race, no matter your identity, you should have access to the same opportunities, right? And I want to make sure that we can create this type of Sacramento that's livable for the ones we love, and that's why I'm running. We have so much at stake this November as well. We are in the middle of a global pandemic and also an uprising with everything that's going on, and it's so critical in this moment to have bold and courageous leadership who's going to fight for you and fight for our families and our communities. I also want to say, you know, aging is something that's also very close to my heart. One, obviously, because I have grandparents, but also when I went to UCLA, I got my master's in public health policy and also Asian American studies. And my thesis was actually looking at aging and looking at seniors of color and Hmong elders in particular, and in the way that we think about about healthy aging and what does that mean? What does that look like in terms of creating safe, livable conditions, but also thinking about ways that services that are culturally relevant to our incredibly diverse seniors as well. And so it's something that I'm very passionate about as well. And I will also say, as a young candidate, and I always share this with a lot of folks, is oftentimes I think we go to folks with graduate degrees or they call policy wonks for guidance. But oftentimes when I'm making policy decisions, I actually lean in on my elders because while they don't have college degrees, they are wise beyond their years. And they actually give me a lot of guidance on actually how to move forward on policy because they are the one on the ground and living the day-to-day struggle. And so again, I'm just so honored to be here today and just really grateful for this opportunity to share my story and hopefully work alongside each and every one of you to create a better Sacramento.
Great. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Well, let's go ahead and get into the issue of livable communities.
Yeah.
Sacramento strives to hold the title of the most livable city in America. Where do you feel we are on meeting that goal? And what are your ideas for what needs to be improved or changed about Sacramento to make it a more livable community for people of all ages, and especially for older adults?
Yeah, I think we're beginning to move in the right direction, but I think when we're talking about livable communities, we also have to really think about how are we addressing the inequities in our community right now, right? In District 8 in particular, we have about 28 to 30% of our residents that are identified as over 50, right? And so that's a huge sector of our population. And when I think about just the demographics and the inequities, I think about just the poverty that is widespread in our district in certain neighborhoods like Meadowview, Detroit, and Valley High, right? And so for me in particular, as someone, when I get to City Hall, is really making sure that I focus my efforts on these communities first, these neighborhoods, so that they receive the bulk of investment and opportunities, because we know that poverty and lack of opportunities, especially for these communities and these neighborhoods, ends in worse health outcomes, right? And so our city should really be targeting programs around these neighborhoods, making sure that we have a living wage, encouraging more recreational opportunities, green spaces. That's really important. And so really focusing on key neighborhoods that have been left behind, that's going to be one of my priorities. So the equity piece is incredibly important.
Great, thank you. My next question is on improving housing options and affordability. As housing costs continue to increase, older adults may be unable to find housing to meet their needs. What would you do to ensure the creation of affordable and diverse housing options, such as accessory dwelling units and/or housing that allows for greater accessibility and independence to help enable residents to remain in their homes and communities as they age?
Yeah, thanks so much for your question, Jennifer. As a city, I truly believe we have a responsibility to ensure that we set aside a certain number of units that's affordable housing throughout Sacramento, right? I'm a strong believer that we got to preserve, we got to protect, and we got to produce more affordable housing in our city. However, in addition to making sure that we build more affordable housing, we got to do more to protect folks that are living in their homes now. And so it's really also important to me that if you're not a homeowner, we got to do more to protect our renters. And that's really important to me because we could, invest in Sacramento and Sacramento can grow. But if our families and our seniors and our elders can't afford to live in their homes, then we are displacing them. And so that is a priority for me too, protecting, preserving, expanding affordable housing, but also making sure that we have renters protection as well. That's important for me. I also think, when I think about housing in particular, I really think about the Measure U dollars that was promised for our communities. And, I really support the creation of Sacramento Affordable kind of Housing Trust Fund to really spur housing as well. And as a councilwoman, I tend to look at other incentives, but that's something that I will be pushing because we know right now that we have too many folks living on the streets. Folks are one paycheck away from paying their rent and even their mortgage, and we have to do more to protect them.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Well, our next topic is going to be on improving our transportation policy. Transportation is a vital link that connects older adults and people of all ages and abilities and socioeconomic backgrounds to jobs, healthcare, social activities, economic opportunity, and community services that support their independence. First, what would you do to create and encourage a range of safe and accessible mobility options in Sacramento, including shared rideables such as bikes and scooters, ride sharing, and even autonomous vehicles? And secondly, how will you ensure that pedestrians can safely use roadways and sidewalks in their neighborhoods?
Yeah. Thanks, Jennifer, so much for your question. With increasing population and more attraction throughout the city, Sacramento, we got to step up in terms of expanding accessibility to public transit. I do think we need to work harder in linking the outlying areas to the city center, and making sure that we are also ensuring safety and cleanliness of our transit usage. The other thing I also wanted to share is that, we did launch a program to provide universal access RT for our youth. And I think we need to do more in terms of increasing ridership, not just with our young people, but also our elders as well. I actually think we need to see this program expanded to our elders where they shouldn't have to also pay as well. And so I think there are a lot of improvements that need to happen. In terms of walkability and bikes, we can talk all about, encouraging folks to ride their bikes or walking, but we also have to think about the built conditions and neighborhoods that we live in, right? If our streets are not safe, if there aren't safe streets for folks to ride bikes, we can't even encourage that unless we build these type of conditions for them to be able to do these things. And so looking at infrastructure is really important for me. I'm all about riding bikes and walkability, taking walks around the parks, but that also means we got to make sure that that we have the infrastructure to allow our seniors and our young folks and our families to be able to do these things. And so I think it's like a multi-tier approach in terms of addressing transportation and ensuring that our elders and our seniors have full access, right? Not just in terms of being able to afford it, but also the built environment.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, our final issue is on community engagement. Older adults, like people of all ages, want respect and want to be involved and ask their opinion on issues that impact their lives. How can city leaders, community organizations, and volunteers partner together to make Sacramento a better place? And if elected, how can AARP work with you and your office to help achieve Sacramento's livability goals?
Thank you so much for your question. Civic engagement is something, Jennifer, that I'm incredibly passionate about. When I went to UCLA and I came back to Sacramento, and I was working as a policy associate at a nonprofit, I looked around and realized that, that my family and my community was still struggling, right? And so, and I became really frustrated with that, right? Like I can go to college and get 2 degrees, but if my family and my community, my elders are still struggling, then we haven't done much. And so I actually started a nonprofit called HIP, Hmong Innovating Politics, to engage communities in the political process. And actually, a lot of the folks that we work with were Hmong elders, right? They're really hungry to engage in the political process, but oftentimes there's no one walking through the process with them, interpreting, translating, sitting in a forum and talking about the proposition, the pros and cons, right? And so HIP actually started to actually create spaces for our seniors and our elders to learn more about the political process. And I remember an elder saying to me in Hmong, literally, I am dumb. I don't know what to do. It's better if I just don't vote. And I looked at her and I said to her, and she said this in Hmong, so I'm translating in English. And I said to her, Nietai, which is like grandma, we can learn together because I'm learning about these proposition as well. And, she started crying. And in that moment, I just thought to myself, like, our seniors and our elders need so much support, even something of just sitting next to them and walking them through it, right? And so civic engagement is something that's so important to me, especially for communities that have been left behind, that is hungry to engage in the political process. And so as a councilwoman, I intend to collaborate with community-based organization that knows their community on the ground and give them the capacity and resources, and working with AARP to make sure that we get our seniors, our elders engaged. They are engaged. They just need the tools and and they need the support. And so absolutely, I would be a champion of that. I also say, this seat that I'm running for doesn't belong to me. It also doesn't belong to the current council member now. It belongs to you. It belongs to the people. It belongs to our seniors, our elders, our youth, our families. And that's why civic engagement and voting is so important. And so absolutely, I think when I become councilwoman, I want to work hand in hand with you, fighting alongside each and every one of you to make sure that every senior, every individual in the city of Sacramento have full access to understanding what civic engagement looks like in terms of voting, everything from volunteering to voting, right? I think also when I think about the health of just my grandparents as well, I find them most happy when they are engaged with community and loved ones, right? And so we can talk all about infrastructure and whatnot, but it's also the one-on-one contact relationships that are very important to me. And so when I think about civic engagement involvement, it's the one-on-one. It's our families, our community supporting, helping each other through the tough times. And so as councilwoman, I intend to make sure that we collaborate together to get all the resources we need to get to our seniors and our elders.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Well, once again, we want to thank you for taking the time to meet with us and tell us more about your plans for City Council. And as we close, do you have any final words that you'd like to leave with our members and viewers, particularly those who may be feeling alone, socially isolated, or even just in need to hear some inspiration from our local leaders?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you're listening to this, that every day when I wake up, I tell myself I get another day to make Sacramento better. But I'm able to do this because I get so inspired by each and every one of you. You at home, who is fighting your own fight in your own personal lives, in your professional life, in your community. Just know that you are my inspiration to continue this fight. Again, I've been telling folks that when I get to City Hall, I'm not going there alone. I'm going there with each and every one of you. And that's the reason why I'm running. So make sure to take care of yourself because we have a lifetime of work ahead. And I know that change doesn't happen overnight. But if I am fighting alongside each and every one of you and I'm hearing your voices, it is going to make all of the difference. And so again, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you that no matter even how you vote, whether you vote for me or another candidate, just make sure that you turn out because it's so important to ensure that that our voices are heard this election because there's just so much at stake. And so we got to make sure that we show up, that we vote. And because we care, we want a better community for the ones we love. And so the last thing I do want to say is that make sure, y'all are washing your hands. If you're going out, wear a mask, that you're practicing physical distancing. That's really important because we also know that our elders are most vulnerable to COVID as well. And so, yes, make sure you take care of yourself. And then I'm sending you all lots of love and healing during these times.
Great. Well,
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. So thank you so much.
of course. Well, thank you so much for being with us. And to our members and viewers, we want to thank you for listening to this important conversation. Before we leave, I want to encourage and remind you all to vote safe this 2020 election. Make your voice heard on these issues and issues that matter most to you. As a reminder, in Sacramento, there are more days and more ways to vote. Every voter will receive a mail-in ballot. In-person voting is expanded beyond Election Day, and you have the opportunity to cast your ballot at any vote center throughout the county. Additionally, if you haven't already, please register to vote today. For more information on registering to vote and how to vote, please visit aarp.org/ca votes. Thank you.
Thank you.